This is Controversial Corner. I'm Mai Tran. With me, we have a special guest today, #1 sports trainer to the top athletes, Brian McNamee. Brian,
Hi, Mai.
welcome. Thank you for joining us at Controversial Corner.
My pleasure.
We'll get into the Mitchell Report and Roger Clemens in a minute. But before that, you're the top professional sports trainer, top of your profession. Controversial Corner would love to hear your thoughts on what you think a sport really is. So I'd like to name some sports, and you just gotta tell me what your thoughts, what do you think of it as a sport or not a sport, and why not.
Okay.
How does that sound?
That sounds great.
So I'm sure your clients, most of them, have either golf at one point or another, yes?
Yes, very big in baseball.
Yeah. So do you think golf is a sport?
No.
Why?
As far as my definition of sport, golf is not a sport. It's an athletic activity, maybe. They might be an athlete, but it's not a sport.
Okay. So if golf isn't a sport, do you think the golfers are athletes?
Yes, I think they're athletes.
Okay. So
Nowadays, more so with the training and the nutrition aspect of it, they're definitely athletes,
all right.
but they're not playing in a sport.
No. So the golfers are athletes, but the sport itself isn't a sport.
No, it's an individual thing. If they lose to themselves. They don't lose to a competitor.
Okay. Good point. So what about professional wrestling?
Well, that's entertainment. It's not a sport. It's I would consider them athletes to a degree because there's an agility aspect to wrestling. It's choreographed, which I think everybody in America knows. But no, wrestling shouldn't even be lumped in the same sentence as another sport to be considered a sport.
So the athletes, the wrestlers that are training to be wrestlers, the professional wrestlers, that is not a sport?
No, it's not a sport.
Okay. So how about volleyball? Is that a sport or not a sport?
Definitely.
Yeah?
Definitely.
Are they competing against each other?
Yeah, it's a team concept. There's strength, speed, agility, power, intimidation, and you definitely have to work the mindset in that game. And as we play, as I had told my friends that I play competitively now, beach volleyball, and I play 4-on-4, 6-on-6, it's without a doubt a sport.
Okay. So let's switch the sports. How about auto racing? Do you think that is a sport?
Well, you would have to consider, since I've dropped, I've done the school drop, you'd have to consider every soccer mom, then they'd be a professional athlete, and there would be a sport dropping your kid over at school, because they're auto racing to get their kids up there on time. Auto racing is dependent on a machine. There's no athletic skill there, they're not athletes.
Okay.
They're not athletes at all.
Some would disagree with that. Some would believe that the racers in the automobile is the athlete. Do you agree with that?
Definitely.
No. So
They're
auto
driving
racing.
a car
Okay.
really fast. That's like me trying to get to the store before it closes by 9. I'm driving really fast, so all right, all of a sudden I'm an athlete.
They're driving at a certain different speed level.
You ever see me try to make it to the store with 30 seconds left? Same thing. Kids, soccer moms dropping their kids off at school. Same thing. It's Indianapolis 500 every day, Monday through Friday.
We hear you loud and clear. So let's switch gears. Let's talk about you, because I know a lot of people are intrigued about Brian McNamee. How did you get started to train world-class athletes?
It was a little bit of chance, a little bit of hard work. I was involved with playing ball for a long period of time, baseball. And then when I had taken a job opportunity with the Yankees to be their bullpen catcher and their batting practice pitcher, I always trained. And that was kind of before the wave of strength and conditioning came in. It was new because strength and conditioning in baseball was always taboo because of the flexibility issues. So as I started in 93, 94, players were coming to me asking me questions because I was always in the gym working out, but I also caught, I did everything they did except playing the game.
Mhm.
And they would ask me questions, and one of the coaches came to me and he says, you should be a strength coach. You can capitalize more income. As far as being this one-dimensional person, you can be a strength coach, catching the bullpen, pro batting practice, and that's what major league teams like to do. They try to lump in a lot of jobs into one person.
Mhm.
So then I went back to school. It wasn't very difficult for me to get into it because I know the baseball body. I know how it performs, pitching, catching, and all the other positions.
Mhm.
So it was a little bit easier that way. And then I got accepted pretty quickly because of my baseball background. And then it was just by luck. Guys, they were drawn to me to a degree. They gave it time to work,
Mhm.
and I had a success. So I've probably been maybe, I don't know, 40% good, 60% lucky.
Mhm.
Right person, right time.
Right place at the right time. So, how many different type of athletes have you trained? That you would say?
I ran the gamut. I did at the United States Athletic Training Center. I trained fencers, football players, baseball players,
Mhm.
dancers, and then I got into training baseball players primarily, and then a lot of sedentary people who just want to be weekend warrior type people.
Mm.
I've also got in. I was training professional boxers for a while, and that's it. I train everybody whoever wants to train, as
All
long as they can
different
do
type
the
of
work.
athletes.
Yeah, whoever wants to do the work.
Mhm.
But I don't just train to train.
Mm. Yeah, we know that, so we'll get into your training in depth in a little bit. But so when you're growing up, who were your heroes? Like name a few heroes that you had.
My heroes were my parents.
Mhm.
They really, because they taught me how to. They gave me the discipline to work hard and
Mhm.
to have respect for myself. As far as, I think your question is, you want me to tell you about the athletes who were my heroes. I followed guys that played like me and how I wanted to play the game. Pete Rose,
Mhm.
Thurman Munson. They were the people, that played the game the right way. They played it hard,
Mhm.
and that's how I try to emulate those people.
Mhm.
Johnny Bench. Those guys they played the game right, and they played it hard, and they left everything out on the field.
Mhm.
So I guess I just try to emulate them as I play.
Okay. So who is the best professional athlete that you've trained or you've worked with?
Condition-wise,
Mhm.
that's a tough question. I think I don't want to slide anybody because I think they're
Come on, you don't have a best that you've ever worked with?
I do, but I don't want to take away from the guy that wasn't as good as them athletically, but did the hard work to get to where they were.
Well, that's my next question.
So I don't want to slight that. And why, everyone has a different energy level. Everyone has a different performance level.
Mhm.
I try to make it better. I don't just try to sustain their level. I try to get their level, what their deficiencies are, and try to make it better.
Mhm.
And that's it. So why am I going to take the 25th man
Mhm.
and slide him? Because it's easy to say the first guy on the team, the best guy on the team was the greatest, but I don't want to do that.
So Brian McNamee doesn't have the best.
Not yet.
So who's the worst?
I'm not going to do that either.
Okay,
on.
who's the?
The worst are I'll put it into a group. The
Okay.
worst are the people that take their skills for granted and don't do the work to maximize their performance.
Okay, so no names mentioned here.
Not yet.
Okay. So who's the funniest that you've ever worked with then?
Besides myself,
Yes, besides yourself.
funniest. That's a tough one. I would think Brian Butterfield, who was a coach, he was one of the funniest instructors I've ever worked with. There's a couple of guys. This guy Jake, who I was with in Toronto, he was one of the funniest. Robert Person, one of the funniest people. He was a pitcher for Toronto. I think he went to Philly. But you know what? That's a tough question for me because I didn't socialize that much
Mhm.
outside of the park, and I was always square business at work.
So all work
We had
and no
laughs.
play.
No, we had some laughs, and it was basically we would have a good time, but I would never let the good time deviate from the work that had to be done.
Mhm.
And that was usually when I was working with. I would like to work two athletes at once because at least I can have them push each other, but also I guess they call it ragging. They would rag on each other to get more, and I would use that to get more out of them.
Mhm.
So there is humor. There was fun, but it was work.
Mhm.
It was work.
So who would you say is the most dedicated?
Most dedicated to their craft.
Mm.
I like Andy Pettit in that category. The way he goes about his business.
Mhm.
I like Jorge Posada,
Mhm.
the way he goes about his business. And then everyone else, right now they stand out to my mind the way that they handle themselves on and off the field, and their dedication to try to be the best they can be. I mean, I can probably give you a bunch of names that would fall under that category.
Mm.
But right now, that's what I can think of.
Maybe our next interview you can give us those names.
Probably could work on that a little bit better.
Maybe I can convince you. So is there an athlete that's you feel that's the laziest that you've ever trained and worked with? Is there such thing as a lazy athlete?
I think the laziest athlete is Randy Myers.
Andy. Mm.
And he used to do a lot of little things to make it look like he was doing a lot, but it really, when you summed it up at the end of the day, it was really nothing.
Nothing. So, in your opinion, what muscle group or what one thing that an athlete should emphasize on to improve his skills, to improve his performance?
Well, we'd have to clarify athlete as far as what sport are we talking about? Are we talking about baseball itself?
Well, maybe in general, and then with your answer, does it differ from different sport to sport, or does that maintain an even keel throughout the sports?
It definitely differs from sport to sport. And as someone who's looking at an athlete like myself, I would have to see the athlete perform,
Mhm.
and then I would have to look at their deficiencies.
Mhm.
And I have to develop a program that would enhance their deficiencies and maintain their strengths.
Mhm.
So if we're talking about baseball, which is my largest background, they have to rely on flexibility training, core
Mhm.
strength, because it's an anaerobic rotational sport.
Mhm.
So we do a lot of core work, which is abdominal, lower back, intercostal oblique, and then we also do a lot of balance work because baseball is rhythm.
Mhm.
Most anaerobic sports are rhythm.
Mhm.
If you don't, there's an old saying, if you can't dance, you can't hit.
Mhm.
It's the same thing. And so if I'll take a 19-year-old, 20-year-old kid who's a 6'6" pitcher, and he has no balance, so right away I know that means his upper body and his lower body aren't in sync together.
Mhm.
Like you ever hear in your profession that like the person is awkward
Yes.
or uncoordinated?
Mhm.
They have to practice their rhythm, and the best way to do that first off is with jumping rope
Mhm.
and different patterns and series of jumping rope. So I do a lot of rope training with athletes that don't have their lower body and upper body in sync together, to put that in sync so it's more athletic. And then we can go into the specifics of rotator cuff and rehab type stuff for throwing, acceleration, deceleration. When you're throwing a baseball, you have accelerators and you have decelerators to slow the arm down. So we need to maintain those. We have the groin, which is like the rotator cuff of the legs. We have to maintain that in a higher rep fashion for endurance and flexibility. So we can go on and on. We can talk all day about the specifics of what someone needs to work on, but mainly we have to, as an exercise physiologist or a strength and conditioning person, they have to break down the deficiencies of the athlete no matter what the sport is.
Mhm. So every individual athlete varies, so it's not one specific muscle area that all athletes need to focus on to better improve their skills.
Exactly. Not everything is right for everybody, and I mean body,
Right.
everybody, because I don't treat, my biggest client and the most successful client who has athletic ability, I can't treat him the same as someone else. Even though the work ethic is there and the program and the methodology behind it is there, but I can't treat them the same because they're not.
Is there an athlete that you wouldn't mind ever training again?
Never train again?
Yes.
Never train again.
You don't care for to train them again.
You know what? I'm gonna revisit a question you asked me
Okay.
about the hardest working athlete I've ever trained.
Mhm.
Was Tony Fernandez,
Okay. Why is that?
because he deserves me to say that the way he worked. And as I'm thinking about these questions while we were interviewing, I think he deserves it. And it's not a slight to anybody else, because I think anyone else that I've trained will look at this and they will say, you know what, he's right.
Mhm.
So I owe him that. Getting back to someone I would never train again
Mm.
would probably fall into the category of Randy Myers. Because I still had to be there.
Mhm.
You know, even David Wells, Randy Myers, guys that just went on there, you know, they did their own thing, they pacified their resistance.
Mhm.
You know, every time they didn't pitch well, they'd run on the treadmill for 3 minutes. Okay, good, you're good, get out.
Right. Their body was there, but their
The negative
mind,
en-
soul, and everything.
Right, the negative
energy's
energy,
not
I
there.
didn't need that around the younger people.
Right.
I don't need negative energy.
Mhm.
You know, I don't need you blaming everybody else for your mistakes and so on and so forth. Not that they did that, but that's what I'm trying to get at as far as the general feel of my weight
Right.
and how I went about my business.
Mhm. Okay, so let's switch gears again. I'm sure our audience are very eager to hear this question. Tell us what life has been like for Brian McNamee after the Mitchell report came out.
Life has been it's been pretty surreal. You know, I went on. You know, I would go about my business a certain way, and I think I was pretty one-dimensional, and I was caught up in work, and I really avoided kind of social activities and kind of social events. And to get involved after the Mitchell report, and as it unfolded, which no one even imagined that it would get to the state that it's in now, it consumed me for a couple of months, which I kind of thought I dealt with it okay.
Mhm.
But then when things started getting a little outlandish and it became more comical to me,
Mhm.
and I actually had a better chance, I started laughing a lot.
Yeah.
I started looking at it like I couldn't believe the seriousness of it. It was surreal, but it wasn't. It was fake.
Mhm.
And to me, it still is. I'm dealing with it, not as much. I have a great legal team behind me that support me,
Mhm.
and my family's been great. But I'm enjoying life a lot more now, and I'm still not where I need to be as far as my career was, but I know with my outlook now, I'll be there.
Mhm.
And I'm having a lot more fun in life.
Since the Mitchell report came out, it seems like Brian McNamee became a household name. And everybody knows you, and every time you turn on TV, you're right there. It's like you turned celebrity overnight. Did that make a difference? Did that change you? You're stepping outside, people recognize you. Say, hey, that's Brian McNamee.
Yeah,
You know? The
support. I mean, I went to the food store the other day, and it was last Saturday, and
Were people getting your autographs, or were they throwing eggs at you?
well, no, my point is that there was a bus, like it looked like a wedding bus, and the driver was in there buying ice, and I was at the checkout center, and he goes back and tells everybody on the bus, they chanted my name. So yeah, to answer your question, I've gotten those. I've been really my whole life I've tried to stay out of the spotlight. I used to go two towns over to get coffee, so I wouldn't have to talk to them. You know, because they would always ask for autographs or this, and that was before the Mitchell report. And now, I wouldn't go out in the beginning, and then I started going out, and the support was so great.
Mhm.
You know, people would shake my hand. You know, not asking me for autographs. They would just come and say, hey, listen, you did a great thing, and you know, we're supporting you. We support you. And that over time, then I got back into training, and that's been going well. And so, you know, I think the celebrity thing, I don't want it.
Mhm.
I really don't. But I realize that if there's any good that can come out of this, then I can use maybe the notoriety to do some good.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what I'm trying to do.
Any correspondence with Roger Clemens?
Not that the whole America doesn't know of the tape recordings, not since then, no.
Mm-hmm. If there was, would you tell us?
Yeah, I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the way the onslaught of me is now, I have no shame and I'm an open book. I mean, my integrity's always been high, and I've always been honest to a degree where, other than to protect me. So if I'd spoke to Roger Clemens, I would say, yeah, I spoke to him.
Mm-hmm.
But it wouldn't be my dime.
So who, given just that statement, who do you think would be the first to contact who?
I think it would be Clemens to contact me.
Because there'd be no initiative on your part?
No, he's gonna need a job.
Hmm.
So I might take that ball.
Job meaning?
I might hire him.
Alright. So if you saw, by chance, Roger on the street walking somewhere and you had an opportunity to say one thing to him, one thing to Roger Clemens, Brian, what would you say?